The games light up. This is BetMGM Tonight with Brad Evans.
Every single team, in certain occasions, especially during the playoffs, should have a meteorologist literally on staff. And then they radio down and be like, hey, Sean Payton, snow is about to come. You might want to kick this.
And Pat Boyle.
And everybody and anybody had something to say about it. There's so many softies out there. Some meows, meow, meow, meows. When it comes to playing football in the elements, which is where the game deserves to be played.
On Westwood One Sports.
You're wrong, and you're a grotesquely ugly freak.
Hey-o! Welcome on into a Tuesday night edition of BetMGM Tonight here on Westwood One Sports. He's Brad Evans, I'm Pat Boyle, and we are brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. Download the app today. Please gamble responsibly. You can watch the show live on YouTube. Search BetMGM Tonight. Hit that subscribe button. You can watch the show live on Twitter at BetMGM Tonight. And you got plenty of different ways you can listen. The Westwood One Sports app, the Odyssey app, SiriusXM Channel 375, and hundreds of affiliates throughout North America. The phone number to join the show is 310-840-4910. You can join us on the phones at 310-840-4910. A lot to get into, Brad. We got the great John Fanta joining us in less than 40 minutes from now. We'll have Mark Schlereth joining us in an hour from now. He was in Peyton Manning's suite back on Sunday for that Broncos-Patriots game. I'm sure he'll have a lot to say about how that game went down. But let's start with the news of the day in the NFL. The Buffalo Bills have their head coach, and they are keeping it in-house. It is going to be Joe Brady, their offensive coordinator. He's getting the promotion to be their new head coach. It's a 5-year deal for Joe Brady. He's been the offensive coordinator for the last couple of years. He was the quarterback coach before that, so he's worked with Josh Allen in 2 different levels. Now he's going to be his head coach, and I got to say, I think this is uninspiring. I think it's lame. I think it's boring, and I'm not surprised one bit. You know, last week when we found out that Sean McDermott was getting fired and GM Brandon Beane was getting a promotion to be the president, then you had that disastrous press conference between owner Terry Pagula and Brandon Beane, and they're talking about, oh, you know, we need to get over the hump, and so, you know, we need to change. We need to change the coaching staff here. What have they changed? What have they changed, literally, other than taking Sean McDermott, throwing him directly onto the bus, blaming him for everything, and then, oh, these big changes they need to make. They're just going to promote the OC to be the head coach. I mean, how boring and uninspiring and lame can you get? I said it yesterday. The Bills, it would have been uncomfortable. They should have waited 2 weeks and then given Clint Kubiak a blank check to be their next head coach. But instead, they panic. They make the safe hire, which I think is just, again, it's uninspiring. I don't see what's changing in Buffalo. No disrespect to Joe Brady. He's called a pretty good offense. I mean, they've been top 5 for the last couple of years, and they know they run the hell out of it. But I just think that Clint Kubiak would have been a way better head coaching option, and the Bills are deciding that the big changes is really just blaming Sean McDermott for all of their failures here over the last several seasons. I don't like it. I don't like what Buffalo did, but, you know, again, all the moves they've made here in just the last 8 days, I'm really not surprised.
Yeah, it's like going to Baskin Robbins, and, you know, they got 31 flavors on a hot summer's day, Pat. You walk in, you look at all of the various offerings there in the case. Oh, you look at all the toppings you could sprinkle on top, some of the colorful options there. Are you going to go cup? Are you going to go cone? Are you going to get some fudge on top of it? How about some caramel? Ooh, boy, get satisfy the sweet tooth. And ultimately, what you decide is, I'll have 1 scoop of vanilla, please, and a cup. Boo! 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 It's just so damn boring. You're right, man. It's the epitome of just going with the status quo. It's all about continuity. And in a way, I think it's appeasing one Josh Allen. You know, Allen allegedly and reportedly had a say in the overall process of who they were going to either elevate or bring in. He probably didn't want to learn another system. And it's like, hey, you know, Brady is a guy that I got a great relationship with. I got a long storied history with, a lot of success with. Go ahead and give him the promotion. We'll find a proper DC, and we're going to be off and running. Now, it could be a satisfactory finish when it's all said and done. We're going to see what the initial hires are and the construction of the overall coaching staff. But really, point blank, what they desperately need are some vertical weapons down the field. As we know with Keon Coleman, we've talked about him endlessly, ceaselessly here on BetMGM tonight. Probably on a one-way ticket out of Western New York, but they got to invest, whether via free agency or via the NFL draft. Suitable wide receiver options. They got plenty of tight ends in the room. Dalton Kincaid, I think, is a top 10 tight end in this league. I like Khalil Shakir quite a bit as well as a WR2. Not a surefire WR1, and you got a franchise running back and can do a little bit of everything, including catch the football adequately and above averagely, really, and that being one James Cook. So the pieces are there foundationally. And watch this. How about they just give one Sean McDermott a call and have him run the defense and just bring everybody back together? Of course, they're not going to do that, and McDermott would never pick up the phone, but yeah, man, it's status quo in Buffalo, and a lot of fans are unhappy, and understandably so.
Okay, we've got plenty more to say about that, and if you want to get in on the phones to talk about Joe Brady being promoted to be the next Bills head coach, and if you think that was the right or wrong move, you can join us on the phones, 310-840-4910. But, Brad, we had breaking news just a couple of minutes before we got on the air here, and it needs to be addressed right now, and that is Bill Belichick. That's right. The Bill Belichick will not be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Adam Schefter tweeted it out right around about 30 minutes ago. Belichick fell short of the 40 out of 50 votes needed for induction to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility. And I think this is absolutely insane. I think this is one of the more ludicrous decisions. This is right up there with Derek Jeter not being a first ballot Hall of Famer. And usually the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we don't even look at it in the same light as the Baseball Hall of Fame, which we know are full of nerds and writers that have vendettas and will hold steroids and things against some players. But with Carlos Beltran getting in, the most infamous cheating scandal of the last 50 years, in my opinion, since the Black Sox threw the World Series, and Carlos Beltran gets in, Jeter not being a first ballot Hall of Famer, picking and choosing some guys versus other guys because they're probably friends with some and they don't know the others all that well. I don't feel like we've had any conversations about controversies into who gets into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but we've got probably the most, what's the right word I'm looking for here? The most ludicrous, the most insane, the most absurd decision that I can ever remember in my 30 years of living in terms of who gets into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Bill Belichick, not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Absolutely absurd. Whoever did not put Bill Belichick into the Hall of Fame because they're on their high horse about Spygate and or Deflategate, which, hey, I'm not saying that he's been squeaky clean his entire life, but you look at those two, I mean, that pales in comparison to Carlos Beltran, orchestrating the sign-stealing scandal for the Houston Astros, or anybody taking steroids, across the history of baseball here. Bill Belichick, not a first ballot Hall of Famer, 6 Super Bowls, 9 conference championships, 31 playoff wins, all of those number one all time for head coaches in the NFL. And he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't care how much you hate him or despise him or hate the Patriots for what he stood for. Bill Belichick is absolutely a top 3 greatest coach in all time for the sport of football, NFL or college. And the fact that he's not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer is a absolute joke in every sense of the word.
Yeah, it's positively comical. There's no question about it. Laundry list of accomplishments. This is a turnkey operation, and they blew the layup. Similar to the BYU player last night, Robert Wright, being 2 feet away from the win and a chance to get the victory, and a stirring comeback for the Cougars against number 1 ranked Arizona on their home floor at the Marriott Center. And then the ball got swatted out of his hands at the last minute, and BYU caught the L. It's really the equivalency. This is an absolute no-brainer. That layup should have been made. The win should have been achieved, and the rug was pulled out from underneath Bill Belichick. It's a travesty. It's idiotic. Politics shouldn't play any factor at all. It's all about accomplishments on the field. And again, with the numerous Super Bowls that he won, being an architect, whether or not you want to give him all the credit for it, or whether or not you give him partial credit, Tom Brady more credit, it doesn't matter. The accomplishments speak for themselves. The rings, they still glisten. They're shiny. They're bright. It is ridiculous that Bill Belichick did not make the Pro Football Hall of Fame the first time out. Just idiotic. There's no other way to put it. And we should really sugarcoat it more than that. I could throw out some 4-letter adjectives to really describe learning about this here in real time. But I'll just put it this way. It's just plain and simple stupid that Belichick is not in.
Yeah, we'll take your phone numbers, your phone calls on this as well, 310-840-4910. You can also tweet the show at BetMGM tonight. And don't take our words for it, right? Brad and I never played in the NFL. We never played professional football. Here's just some of the tweets that have already come in from some of the most prominent players in the last 20 years. Let's start with J.J. Watt. This is, you can see it if you're watching live on YouTube, but this is J.J. Watt verbatim here, responding, quote, tweeting Adam Schefter's initial reporting. J.J. Watt says, I can't be reading this right. This has to be some knockoff Hall of Fame or something. It can't be the actual NFL Hall of Fame. There is not a single world whatsoever in which Bill Belichick should not be a first ballot Hall of Famer. You also had Patrick Mahomes weigh in on the matter. That's right, the Patrick Mahomes. And he said, quote, insane, ... Don't even understand how this could be possible. Schefter has also added onto this thread, and he said a text from an NFL executive reads, quote, the 10 plus people that didn't vote for BB should be exposed. WTF, this is crazy. Again, Brad, you and I fully understand Spygate, right? When they were recording the Jets at practice. And Deflategate, deflating the circumference, deflating the footballs for Brady in the AFC Championship game. And those two things do not keep you out of the Hall of Fame. I'm sorry. Are they tarnishes? Are they not even a tarnish. Are they a slight smudge on his all-time resume? Sure. You name me one Hall of Famer that is squeaky clean, perfect, never done a single thing wrong. Those two things, Spygate and Deflategate, if that's what's keeping Bill Belichick from being a first ballot Hall of Famer, I have a problem. I have a problem. We need to expose the people on the Hall of Fame committee, these holier than thou. Like, the guy's one of the greatest winners of all time across any sport, across any profession in the entire world. There's nothing else to say about it. How is he not a first ballot Hall of Famer? It's BS. I've come very close to cursing a couple of times here. It's BS in every sense of the word.
Yeah, it's understandable. I mean, you should be hot and bothered. You should be very heated. It's utterly ridiculous, preposterous that he's not in on the first try. I mean, again, this is a layup of layups, folks. And the committee absolutely smoked it there in the end. The 10 members who decided not to vote for him. So should they be doxxed? Should they be exposed in some way? That's up for debate, but I would love to hear the reasoning behind it. Is it entirely because of those controversial instances that you already laid out with Spygate, Deflategate? But, even if you take those into account, you also have to take the entire career arc into account and what he achieved for the better part of like a 10 to 15 year period. It was pure dominance. There's no other way you can remotely describe it. It was dynasty in every sense of the word. Yeah, you got to give a lot of credit to Tom Brady. Yeah, I got to give a lot of credit to the collective of players. But who was the steward? Who was the mastermind behind the architecture of that team, the construct of that team, the execution of the game plans? It was Bill Belichick. This is just stupid. Again, I just keep coming back to that word because there's no other way to really describe the idiocy that is going on here right now in live and living color. in the year of our football gods 2026. So hopefully you're going to make amends and make this right. Obviously not this cycle, but the next cycle, it should be unanimous. Nobody should be voting against Bill Belichick the next time out. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. His bust and all of its glorious, display and fashion has to have a spot right stinking now in Canton, Ohio.
We're going to get to a phone call here in just a minute. If you want to jump aboard, the number to join the show is 310-840-4910. I just want to give you some information out there. Those of you watching, those of you listening who are thinking, well, who the hell is the Hall of Fame voting committee? It's comprised mostly of veteran NFL reporters, but also includes former general manager Bill Polian and former coach Tony Dungy, both of whom are Hall of Famers. And in the article that Schefter put together that is on ESPN, he includes that a voter who spoke on condition of anonymity said that Bill Polian, who is an ardent Robert Kraft supporter, and we know that Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick never really saw eye to eye, and winning was able to mask all that. And once he stopped winning, that thing then got ugly real quick, and that divorce was pretty ugly. But that Bill Polian said that he told some voters he believed Belichick should, quote, wait a year, end quote, before induction as penance for Spygate and for Deflategate. And Bill Polian did not immediately respond to a request for comment, but you look at that, and in our show chat, Monty, our video producer, Michael Montgomery, is saying, I wonder if the UNC stuff this past year, how disastrous it's been with North Carolina, and the Jordan Hudson stuff has anything to do with him not getting in. That would be even more ridiculous than
totally agree.
The Spygate and the Deflategate stuff. One bad season where, he's been a laughing stock in many regards, and it's been a circus in Chapel Hill, does not even make it on to the smudges of a resume that is Bill Belichick's first ballot Hall of Fame worthiness. Spygate and Deflategate, they happened. I'm not denying them. I'm not saying they were inconsequential. I'm not saying they don't matter. But like on a scale of 1 to 10, and you got to get to like a 5 for it even to be a discussion as, do these things keep him off the first ballot? This is a 1. This is a 1.5. There's no shot that he should have been kept off the first ballot for the Hall of Fame because of those two things. But let's get to some instant reactions here right out of the opening segment. 310-840-4910. Ross is in Florida, joins us here on BetMGM tonight. Brad Evans, Pat Boyle, Westwood One Sports. Ross on line 1. Go ahead, man. You got it.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, guys. Yeah, I swore with your producer on the phone line, and I promised I wouldn't do it on air. Obviously, you have to dump me, but this is just patently ridiculous. And I appreciate you guys called out some of the Jordan Hudson stuff, but even if he is dating someone who could be his granddaughter, that has no bearing on his credentials for the Hall of Fame. And just, I think on a broader level, you referenced doxing. I don't think it's doxing per se. All these people on the outside of Bill Polian and Tony Dungy, they'll flex oh yeah, I'm a Hall of Fame voter, but their ballots aren't public. Same thing with the dweebs that are baseball writers of America who, whoever the holdout was for Ichiro and Ken Griff Jr., it's absurd. You can't flex, I have this credential, I have this position, and then not have a private voting system where you don't have to defend your harebrained or hot takes or whatever you're doing. Whoever didn't vote for him, they should be exposed. All this stuff should be transparent. I'll leave it at that before I get too carried away. You guys are.
Yeah, we appreciate it there. Thanks, man. Thanks for the call, Ross. Yeah, really quickly, the one response I'll have to that is, look, O.J. Simpson's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And that's all there is to say. O.J. Simpson is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and he got in his first year of eligibility. O.J. Simpson, first ballot Hall of Famer. And what he did, what he's alleged to have done, I don't need to spell it out for you. We all know it. It doesn't even come close to Bill Belichick cheating in the game of football twice. 1, for videotaping practices. 2, deflating footballs by a little bit. Not even a comparison. And Bill Belichick was left off the Hall of Fame because of that. What a joke, man. What a freaking joke. There is nothing else to be said about it. It's a freaking joke. We got to get to a break here, but we'll take more of your phone calls. 310-840-4910. That's 310-840-4910. Do you think, like me and Brad, that it's a disgrace that Bill Belichick has been kept off the first ballot? He's been kept out of the Hall of Fame on his first ballot, his first entry? Or do you think it was deserved? I think it's nuts, but I'm willing to hear other sides of the argument here. We'll do that when we come back, and we'll look ahead to a massive Tuesday slate for college hoops and the NBA. But we'll keep it rolling with the Bill Belichick stuff when we come back as well. He's Brad Evans. I'm Pat Boyle. This is BetMGM tonight on Westwood One Sports.
This is an AI football team. The Cleveland Geminis. The ChatGPT Browns. Where you have people very clearly in executive roles. And this is my opinion, right? And people can disagree with me. But I'm the one with the microphone. I'm giving my opinion. You have people in executive roles who clearly don't feel confident in their ability to get a read on the person that they're talking to. Because if you did, and you had a read on that person, you'd be able to make a decision that you felt confidently about and not have to lean on essays. Like, this is someone applying to, go to Syracuse. Or fill out something on the SAT. It's an absolute, it really is a disgrace. An essay? What is this? 5th grade? To be the coach of an NFL team? A personality test? What happened to the actual face-to-face, eye-to-eye, man-to-man, human-to-human conversation? To get a sense of who people are. You need them to write an essay to figure that out? Like, you can't lie on an essay? You can't fudge an essay? You can't give answers on a personality test that you think someone wants? You can look someone in the eye and get a sense if they're BSing you. You can't look at a piece of paper and get the sense if they're BSing you. So, of course, imagine you're Mike McDaniel, right? Let's just put yourselves in the shoes of Mike McDaniel for a second, right? Mike McDaniel just got fired from Miami. Mike McDaniel wants to be a head coach again, right? And he wants to succeed because if he flames out a second time, he ain't never getting another head coaching job. It ain't happening. Like, Mike McCarthy just got a 3rd job because Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl. And won 1 million games with the Dallas Cowboys. Mike McDaniel couldn't win a playoff game in Miami. And if the Browns, by all accounts, were really interested in hiring Mike McDaniel, and Mike McDaniel said, no, I'd rather be an offensive coordinator with the Chargers than go work here with Cleveland. Because he has to know that if he takes that job, that he's not going to be set up for success. Because they're a joke of an organization. Now, this isn't an anti-Browns fans are the best. But this organization sucks, right? Tell the truth. Is it a good organization? Is Jimmy Haslam a good owner? Does any of this make any sense? Why would, if you're Nate Shieldhouse, right? I'm going to try and put myself in his shoes now. We can understand why Mike McDaniel wouldn't want the job, because if he fails, which you probably will, working for this organization, you're never getting another job. So if you're Nate Shieldhouse, right, and you're very young, in your early 30s. You have the world in front of you. You're attached to Sean McVay. And maybe Mike LaFleur, Matt's brother, maybe he gets the Arizona Cardinals head coaching job. Maybe that happens. But either way, you're in this interview cycle. The Bills have interviewed you. You're now a name. No one knew who you were a month ago, and now everyone in the NFL community knows who you are if you're Nate Shieldhouse. Everybody knows you. Why would you go work for Cleveland? Why would you want that? If you feel like what would you say, you the listener, you the viewer, is the percent chance that Nate Shieldhouse, let's say he goes, I'm staying in LA. I'm going to remain, maybe he's the offensive coordinator, maybe he remains the passing game coordinator. Given the buzz that has been around him this cycle, he's taken head coaching interviews. what would you say the percent chance is that Nate Scheelhaase, who's in his early 30s, will get a head coaching job? It seems like it's pretty high, right? That Scheelhaase will get a head coaching job. So if that's true, why would you go work for the Browns? I would certainly understand if he didn't want to.
From kickoff to the final whistle, you're locked into BetMGM Tonight. Weeknights with Brad Evans and Pat Boyle.
All right, welcome back to the show. He's Brad Evans. I'm Pat Boyle. Phone number to join is 310-840-4910. That's 310-840-4910. We are going to get to your phone calls here in just 1 minute. And then we're also going to talk a little college hoops and NBA coming up in a few minutes. But I want to let you know first that our friends over at BetMGM have something cooking for you here ahead of a big slate of basketball tonight on this Tuesday. And that is this. BetMGM players will receive a college basketball odds boost token. To use the token, add a college basketball wager to your bet slip and activate the token. If you win your wager that was made with the token, you will receive extra winnings in unrestricted bonus dollars. So nice little odds boost you can use tonight for some college hoops games. There are plenty of gargantuan ones. And again, we'll get to those in just a bit. We also got John Fanta coming up in less than 15 minutes. But let's get a couple of phone calls in here reacting to the breaking news right before the show. Bill Belichick will not be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Needed 40 out of 50 votes. He fell short of the 40 votes. And I'm doing a little research on the fly here, Brad, and if it's correct, there's 382 Hall of Famers in the NFL. One site said there's 76 that were first ballot Hall of Famers. One site said 92 were first ballot Hall of Famers. I'm just going to read you a couple of names here, and you tell me whether or not you think Bill Belichick deserves to be in this group. And again, there's no disrespect at all to some of these guys because a lot of them are deservedly so first ballot Hall of Famers. But to say that arguably the greatest coach of all time, and without a doubt a top 3 greatest coach of all time in this sport, in the sport of football, is not a first ballot Hall of Famer, is absolutely ridiculous. Here we go. Here's just some of the names that are first ballot Hall of Famers. Junior Seau, Champ Bailey, Troy Polamalu, Charles Woodson, Warren Moon, Marcus Allen, Lawrence Taylor, by the way, not a good guy. Brett Favre, not really a good guy.
Nope.
Franco Harris, Roger Staubach, O.J. Simpson, not a great guy. And yet they had no problem getting in on the first ballot. And Bill Belichick, because of Spygate and Deflategate, that's my guess. That's my educated guess. Those are the two big reasons he's been left off of the first ballot, that he will not be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And again, we talked about in the open, we're not excusing Spygate. We're not pretending that Deflategate didn't happen. But those are little tiny smudges on an otherwise first ballot Hall of Fame resume. I'm in disbelief. I'm in disbelief at the holier-than-thou Football Hall of Fame committee voters that are obviously holding a grudge over Bill Belichick, and they're holding a grudge over two things that really shouldn't keep him off the first ballot Hall of Fame.
Yeah, again, it's just outlandish, utterly preposterous that he is not in. Immediately right now. I mean, you got to look at the resume objectively. Despite the controversies that are attached, the fact that he won 6 Super Bowls, the fact that as well he was 3-time AP Coach of the Year. He was a Pro Football Writers Association Executive of the Year in 2021. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Accomplishment, and more accomplishments. Put the name aside. If this were like a blind resume, it would be, yeah, he's got to be in. I mean, it's just unquestionable. There should be no penalty. It's overly harsh. It's just dumb. Bury your biases. Put politics aside. You got to look at this again. Objectively, without a doubt, Bill Belichick should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. And again, as I said before in the last segment, if it ain't unanimous next time out, get rid of them all.
Yeah. All right, let's get to some phone calls here. 310-840-4910. Caleb is next up in Alabama, joins me, Pat Boyle, and Brad Evans here on BetMGM tonight. Westwood One Sports. Caleb's on line 1. Go ahead, Caleb.
Hey, Pat. Hey, Brad. Just like you guys, I'm just shocked and confused about this. This doesn't make any sense. The dude's clearly a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I had 2 thoughts on it that I hadn't heard mentioned yet. And I just wanted to get y'all's comments on these things. One, I know that Kraft is also up for Hall of Fame potential, getting voted in. Do you think maybe he might have put a word in edgewise to some of the voters or to the Hall of Fame in general and was just like, hey, I don't really want to go in with Bill. We know there's no love lost there despite their success. So I just didn't know if maybe that was something that could have potentially been, brought up. And then the second thing is, there is precedence for this. Terrell Owens didn't get in. And again, like a blind resume, I mean, that dude clearly should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer, but his off the field stuff just kept him out of, being first ballot. So I would love to see Bill, if he gets in next year, assuming he gets in next year, which he should be in this year. I would love for him to just not go. That would just be such a burn to the NFL and the Hall of Fame, and they deserve it for this holier than thou, presence like you guys are talking about.
Yeah, that's a great point, Caleb. Great point. I wouldn't be surprised if Belichick didn't go and accept his induction ceremony in Canton, because we know that he can hold a grudge. We know that he's petty. And, part of the reason why a lot of us hated him when he was a coach, because of all the petty answers and non-answers he would give us. There's a lot of reasons to like that pettiness and to like that grudge holding, and it makes him human, right? It makes him human. He's one of the most polarizing coaches in NFL history, and he's one of the greatest. The point you make about Robert Kraft is excellent. And Brad, I wonder if this really does have something to do with it. Robert Kraft, very influential owner. Bill Belichick, one of the greatest coaches of all time. Robert Kraft, arguably one of the greatest owners of all time. You think Robert Kraft maybe slipped a little word to those voters and said, hey, why don't you guys think about this? Because I don't know if we should be going in together.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we can't substantiate any of it. It's just a theory, and we even spin all the fun and crazy conspiracy theories that are out there. But is this one viable? I think it kind of is. It's really interesting, to say the least. And yeah, he's got a lot of pull. He's got a lot of power. He's got the deepest of pockets, as all these owners really do. And maybe put a couple of guys aside and said, okay, here's the deal. I'm not a big fan of Bill Belichick. I'm up for the Hall of Fame this year. I cannot be on the same damn stage as that dude. So ultimately that maybe plays a factor, but I don't think we'll ever learn about it until maybe, years and years down the road. And I agree with your perspective. I think Belichick would be a particular extension of a certain finger if he did not show up and speak and accept his Hall of Fame nomination next year. That would be very Belichickian.
By the way, Robert Kraft, not a great guy either.
Yeah. A lot of controversies there.
Massage parlors. Was charged with 2 misdemeanor counts of soliciting prostitution in February of 2019. And prosecutors dropped the charges after a court ruled that evidence, hidden camera footage, was obtained unconstitutionally. Let's not forget about that either. We're talking about Robert Kraft being the first ballot Hall of Famer. But hey, you take a little air out of footballs, you record some practices. I guess that holds against you for life. Let's get one more phone call in here really quickly. 310-840-4910. Joe is in New York next up on BetMGM tonight. Joe on line 3. Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead, man.
Hey guys, how's it going? First of all, let me just say I'm hardly the biggest Patriots fan, but I completely agree with everything you guys are saying. The thing I wanted to get your opinion on, do you think if these voters are a lot of former reporters, do you think it could be them holding some petty grudge, trying to get vengeance for the fact that Belichick never really played their game the way they wanted to in terms of, giving them sound bites and responding to questions and such like that? Do you think that could be why those guys might be trying to hold him out?
Joe, thanks for the call. Brad, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I think it's entirely a factor that could be played into it. It didn't play necessarily by their rules, asking the questions and giving we're on to Miami kind of answers. Nobody really cared about that. They're just trying to do their job and write a story. So could they hold a grudge? Absolutely. Could Belichick have burned some bridges in the process? Hell to the yes, that could be a point of view. But again, you have to put your biases aside. You have to look at Hall of Fame voting through an objective lens. He has all the credentials imaginable. It doesn't matter. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, period, end of story.
All right, we got to take a short break here. We've actually got some callers on hold that agree with the Hall of Fame committee keeping Belichick out on the first ballot. But hang on, because when we come back, we're going to talk to John Fanta, college basketball ambassador like no other, because he's calling the Indiana-Purdue game tonight on Peacock, and so he's got to get ready to call a game. He's nice enough to stop by with us. We're going to talk to John Fanta next. Top of the hour, we'll reset. We'll get back to your phone calls on Bill Belichick, so hang patiently if you can. If you want to join, the phone number is 310-840-4910. He's Brad Evans. I'm Pat Boyle. John Fanta, he is college basketball. He's next right here on BetMGM tonight.